Welcome to the Cyberspace VR. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what people don't tell you about the HTC Vive.
The HTC Vive is a great headset, and we love it. We've had some really awesome memories playing on it and letting other people give it a try over the past year, and we've actually owned multiple of them. But there are definitely some issues that we feel like everyone should know about that aren't being discussed. And even those people that have bought the HTC Vive aren't going to tell you about them because they want to feel like they made the right call on which headset they bought. So let's jump into some of the reasons why the headset is not the best on the market.
So flashback 10, 15 years ago when the Xbox 360 was released. All of us were stoked. We all loved it. It was an amazing, amazing gaming system. However, I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember clearly the what were they called? The red rings of death. If you saw that on your Xbox 360, you knew you were screwed. Around the little X, you would just see 3 rings or 1 ring or 2, and the system was just telling you that something was wrong and it was probably broken, and you'd have to get a new one or at least spend hundreds of dollars. So one thing that people don't tell you about the HTC Vive is there is a red dot of death, and it is relatively similar to how terrible the Xbox 360 rings of death were.
So I just want to give you guys a little bit of context. So when this happened to us, we were actually bringing the HTC Vive. It was working the day before over to a friend's house. It was he was 8 years old. We were just having
birthday party. Yeah.
Having him and a bunch of his buddies give it a try. And so we plugged everything in. We're experienced. We know what we're doing. We plugged it in. It wasn't working. There was a little light over right here on the indicator, and it was red. And I had never seen that before. I hadn't heard anything about it. So after 2 hours, yeah, it was 2 hours of sitting down trying to get it working at this birthday party, we gave up and went home. And it was the same exact feeling of seeing those red rings on an Xbox, just no, what's going on?
It was terrible. And they're great family friends of ours, and we really felt like we let them down. And it was just a terrible thing. And it was something that we had never heard of. No one had ever told us that happened with the HTC Vive, and it took us a long time to figure out what to do.
Right. So I actually, my brother and I were pretty techie, and we did some research, and we decided to go through their customer service. We didn't want to risk taking apart the headset on our own. So we sent it in, and about 2 weeks later, they got back to me, and they said that there was water damage. Now, I get that if there's water damage on a phone, but on a headset, I was really confused. It's not like we were going swimming or taking this in the shower.
Right.
So I was really confused, and I did some more research, and apparently it's really common that when people play on the HTC Vive, they get a little bit worked up. I was playing Beat Saber the day before. This was when I was really first getting into Beat Saber, and I was beating the final level on Expert, and I spent probably an hour and a half
without taking that headset off.
Right, and it's not like I was dripping sweat into the headset. It was just getting foggy.
Yep.
And that's pretty common. People run into that. But the issue is, this is not sealed off from the rest of the headset, and there ends up being condensation on the circuitry. I was pretty upset. I was not wanting to pay the $200 that they were asking to fix this headset.
And we had just started up our business, and we bootstrapped it all. And we had spent our own money on getting our system, getting the PC ready and everything, and throwing down another $200 at the time was that sucks.
It was such a big stretch for us. I ended up actually talking them down. I asked for some pictures of the headset, and they said that wasn't available, and because they weren't meeting my requests, they lowered the price down by $75 or something like that. But it's still just really frustrating and something that you need to know about the HTC Vive. My brother, he uses his Oculus Rift, the CR1, the first one that they came out commercially with. He uses that to work out. He lost, I think, 30 pounds doing different workouts like Beat Saber on his Vive. That's what he used for cardio. So that he sweats just as much as I do.
More.
Right.
Not more, who knows?
Exactly. And so that headset's a lot more durable than this one, and that's just one of the things. We'll get into more as we go on.
Yeah, and it's something that you need to know, something to keep in mind, but it's something that can be avoided. As soon as we figured out that was what happened, that's what broke it, we've been able to take the proper precautions so that it wouldn't happen again, and it hasn't. After we even went to a local event in the town, and We had 2 headsets there, and it was like a kind of snowy, kind of rainy, foggy day. And we had them out there for 8 hours, and they were totally fine. You just it's all about taking the headset on and off, making sure that like the condensation doesn't get in there, wiping it down sometimes. And it's something that can be avoided. It's just people don't tell you about that the HTC Vive has that issue. And once you know it, you can avoid it, and it'll be okay.
And a really popular thing that people tend to do when they're having a lot of people try these headsets, including at like arcades, is they get the leather faceplates for the HTC Vive. And although they're awesome because they're easy to clean, they kind of seal in the sweat and the heat. And so if you're worried about that on your headset, don't get the leather faceplate.
All right, so another thing that people don't tell you about the HTC Vive is the whole system with the sensors. So here we have it right here. So this is the sensor that you would use. What you'll have is you'll have 2 of these. And what we do is we hook them up to tripods, and we'll station them in 2 different corners of a room. And they work relatively well, but there's definitely some things that you need to know about them.
The reason why we chose the HTC Vive over the Oculus Rift when they were both out was these sensors are actually, they're dumb, right? They don't connect to anything. They're just basically, they call them lighthouses, and that means that the headset looks at these as a point of reference. It doesn't communicate with these in any way. They communicate with each other by sight, but you don't need to plug them into your computer. With the Oculus Rift, you actually plug in the sensors via USB, and we didn't know, our intention for our setup was to move around and use it in different places.
Yeah, be very mobile with our equipment.
Right, and so we wanted to have something that was mobile, which is great. And the tripod system has worked okay.
One thing to also keep in mind with these sensors is you can't really have multiple HTC Vives in the same room playing together. You kind of have to separate them out. It causes tons of trouble. A couple weeks ago, actually, we had a friend nearby come over with his setup, and we're just down here in a basement, and it took us hours. It took, what, 2 hours? Hour and a half?
Yeah.
Just to get things working. And we had so many people over here, and it was going to be such a fun time. 2 people playing, or 2 different systems going, people playing VR games together, all that stuff. And it was set up to be awesome, but because there was 4 sensors in the room, they could kind of connect to each other. They were sensing each other. It was a huge, huge hassle, and so hard to figure out how to fix it. We ended up having to hang a giant, sheet, splitting the room. We had to tack it into the ceiling and split the room so that the sensors can get each other. And I mean, by that time, almost 2 hours had passed, and some people had already left. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking to, maybe if you have friends that also are looking to get an HTC Vive and you want to play together. If you want to do a LAN party together, it might be a little bit of a hassle.
The cool thing is you can actually run 2 headsets off of a set of 2 of these. So if you have, for example, when we did that event outdoors, we used a big Easy Up, and we put one of these in each corner, and we actually ran 2 headsets off of the same ones. And so that's really nice, but at the same time, sometimes you want to have a little bit more distance, and you have to separate the room. That's why at virtual reality arcades, they have big cloth curtains blocking the different sections.
Exactly.
And that's just what you have to do, and it's a big struggle. It really is.
Another thing that kind of gets a little annoying is, like I said, you'll put them on tripods or something, or you'll hang up the sensors in 2 different corners of the room. If somebody walks in front of that, the whole game gets super whacked out. It'll glitch out, and sometimes the whole earth, the virtual earth in the headset for the person goes and it can really make people motion sick and really throw them off balance. They can fall, and it's just not the best. Not the best. We've played with other headsets that don't have sensors nowadays, or they do, but they don't have the lighthouses, and they work really well. And yeah, you avoid a lot of those silly little mistakes and mishaps.
Exactly. So with things like the Oculus Go, like we have back up here, it senses what direction your head is pointing, and that's what it uses as a reference to where you're looking. With the HTC Vive, it uses the sensors to sense where you're looking, and so sometimes there can just be a little bit of miscommunication between the headset and the sensors, and it leads to that weird effect, and it really can throw you off, especially if you're putting grandma in there in Google Earth, and she starts to go, and you're like, okay, grandma, it's okay. We love showing this technology off, but it's really embarrassing when that type of thing happens. It makes me feel like unprofessional. It makes me feel that, you know, it's just we don't have the best equipment.
Yeah, it makes you feel that like the people that you're showing off your equipment to think that, you know, they don't know, you don't know what you're doing, kind of thing. Like, come on, set this up right. I want to have a good, perfect experience, and it just isn't that way 100% of the time. It does a great job most of the time, but when the sensors kind of get all whacked out, it really throws you off.
So one of the last things we want to talk about that we don't like about this headset specifically is the kind of the back of it. All right, so let's jump into it. So these straps and everything back here, the Velcro, after a year of use, and of course that's just going to happen, it's falling apart. It's really rough. My brother, who's had an Oculus Rift for years, his is in great shape. The biggest bummer about this is it doesn't have built-in headphones. And it comes with headphones, and it actually has a headphone jack on the back, which is awesome, and it comes with a little specialized pair of noise-canceling headphones. But it's just such a pain in the neck to try and get that set up with someone, and having your own headphone solution. And of course, they do sell the audio strap, but when this came out, they were selling it for $500, which is $100 more than the Oculus Rift was at the time. And it's just so much work and so much effort to try and get the headphones working that 90% of the time we just use the TV audio, which is kind of a bummer because for things like horror games or different things like that, you definitely want the person playing.
You want that immersion. You can't get that full immersion. I mean, when you put on a virtual reality headset, the whole idea is like, I want to go to a virtual world. I want to sometimes even escape actual reality. And you can't do that if you don't have the headphones in. If you're just doing it from a TV speaker, your ears, your body can feel that it's coming from one direction, and it's just not as good. So that's definitely a little bit of a bummer. That's another thing that people don't really tell you about the HTC Vive. You're not really going to find that about, the reviews and stuff online. All right, guys, so the next thing we want to talk a little bit about is the HTC Vive controllers. This is one right here. This is what it looks like. And if you're used to any of the other controllers for the other headsets, the other brands out there, you can tell right off the bat that these are a lot bulkier. They're just not really made as well, and they just don't feel as good when you're playing and when they're in your hands. You just kind of feel like you're holding almost like a small brick. So we wanted to dive a little bit into that and why we don't prefer these, but they get the job done.
Exactly. So there's so many things about this controller that are good. I feel like when you hold it in your hand in a game, let's say you're holding like a lightsaber in Beat Saber, for example, it feels very straight, unlike other games where it kind of is curved a little bit, and you have to hold it differently to try and make it feel natural. But one thing that I really don't like about this controller is I really hate this.
The touchpad.
The touchpad is it's like using a laptop trackpad.
It's tricky. It's weird. It's hard. I mean, take it from us, we do a lot of parties with our systems, and it's really hard to teach people how to play games with that trackpad. Like, they just can't get it. They don't understand that it's a trackpad and a button, and it's got like two buttons, like the top half's a button and the bottom half is too. It's really kind of confusing for people who aren't used to virtual reality.
So generally, you kind of like swipe on it like a phone, left and right, to navigate menus, it's just bad.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I do love the trigger. I think the trigger has a very satisfying click.
Yep.
But another big problem is the grip buttons. So on the Oculus Rift and other headsets, they have a more defined grip button that you press with this hand. This controller is designed to just, you squeeze it.
Yeah.
And
if you thought that the trackpad was hard, trying to get somebody, if those squeeze buttons are in a game for a certain role, if they play a certain role in a game, that is insanely hard to teach somebody. They just cannot figure out that there's buttons that you squeeze on the side. It's not very user friendly. It really isn't.
Yeah. For example, in Super Hot, if you've ever seen that game, there's red people coming at you. You have to grab guns and different items in the game. In the Oculus Rift, in the S as well as the original, you press the grip button to grab something and you hold that button. With these, they don't even use the grip buttons because they knew they were bad. You click the trigger to grab something, then to let go, you press this.
Which is very hard to do in that game. It's
Right.
insane. It's super hard to teach someone how to play that.
Exactly. It feels unnatural.
Yeah.
With the Rift, it feels natural. You hold the button to grab something, you let go to throw something, and it's the same.
It feels like you're throwing a ball. Like it's the exact hand motions that you would do when you're throwing a baseball or something. This one, it's like you have to teach your brain, no, I'm not letting go of anything. I have to press a button to throw something. It makes no sense. It really doesn't.
Exactly. And then this button right here frustrates the heck out of us.
Yeah.
Where we do parties, we have tons of people playing this, and our hope is that everyone that has a VR headset shares their technology and shows it off to people.
Yeah.
But the issue is you grab your controller like this, and sometimes you just press that button with your thumb.
Oh.
And
it messes up games. It takes you out of it takes you to a menu system. It just kills the momentum of
Exactly.
a party or just a fun experience with friends. It just kills the momentum. And sometimes it's repetitive, and people can't figure out that there's a button there, and they do it over and over again. In one Beat Saber song, we've seen people press this button 15 times, and that makes a 3-minute long song turn into 10 minutes. It's just super, super annoying.
Right. There's a lot of things to talk about the controller, but one thing I will say that's positive, I think the strap is really good.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's such a small thing, but it makes a difference.
I've played with a lot of controllers. Like you can see, we have a couple different headsets. I've even played, like with the Dev Kit 1, the Oculus Dev Kit 1. That one doesn't have a controller, but the straps on them are all kind of difficult to use. Sometimes they're sticky. This feels a lot like the Wii remotes.
Yep, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, so I think it's great and it's comfortable, and that's a good thing.
And when it comes down to it, it's a good controller. It's consistent. It'll do what you want. Once you get used to it, it'll be fine. Just a couple things that people don't really tell you about it. All right, guys, to sum it up, we really do like the HTC Vive. It's been great for us. We've had multiple of them for almost a year now, and they've been great. They've been great headsets. One thing that we do really love is that it's really integrated with Steam. So it's super easy to access your games. Most people these days already have a Steam account, already have games on there for their PC. So it's really nice and convenient there in that aspect. And just overall quality, it's one of the best out there. It's a great headset, and it's definitely worth your money if you're looking to purchase one.
And I hope that we haven't been too harsh on it. Like I said, we have some great memories in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great headset to own, especially now that these new headsets are coming out. This is going to be what you're going to be buying when you buy used.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be really careful buying used, but it's a great headset. For example, we've beat the heck out of it. We've taken it places. Like we said, we had that event outside. It was snowing. People dropped it on the concrete. It's durable.
It'll last.
And it's got a good microphone. It does what it's supposed to. And so if you can get a good deal on one, don't be afraid to get it.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure you know of some of the issues.
Yes, just keep these things in mind. That's all we're trying to say with this video. Keep these things in mind. Prepare for them. Avoid the red dot of death. And if it comes, figure it out. It'll be okay. And you'll have a great time. It'll be great for you, for your family, for your friends, for whoever, really. It's a fantastic headset.
All right, guys, thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. Thanks for hearing us out on our little bit of complaining about the HTC Vive. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you found something new about the HTC Vive.
Exactly, yeah. And again, guys, this is the Cyberspace VR. Go ahead and subscribe. Comment below with any questions or anything really that you want to talk about. We'd love to talk to you guys. Go ahead and give us a like, and we'll see you next time.